Hi, this is Ellen J. Mann, and you're watching the Honor Yourself First show, the place to be for information and inspiration to rediscover the real you and create the life that you desire and deserve. In today's episode, we're going to talk about money, 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 money. Seems to be the topic of conversation for everyone right now, whether it's talking about the national debt or whether it's talking about our own debt in our own finances and our wallets. So today I'd want to just talk about ways that we can really honor ourselves and take care of ourselves by really looking at our finances. And my guest today is from Financial Hope, and it's Mike LeClear. He's the Director of Counselors at Financial Hope. And we're just going to talk about money, money, money. Is that okay?
Sounds good, Ellen. Thanks for having me here.
Oh, thanks for being here. So, Mike, one of the questions I have is, when we talk about money, how many people do you see that, percentage-wise, that come in that are proactive in looking at their finances?
Very small percentage. Most people that we see are actually, it's crisis management type. It's like, well, the creditors are starting to call me, I'm behind with my creditors and things of that nature. So very few people will come in and say, hey, actually, I'm just trying to prevent something from happening. I'll be real honest. So majority of the folks are really almost in that crisis stage.
Yeah, and what a shame. Huh?
Yeah. They'll say, well, I wish I would have came to you guys like 6 months or a year ago kind of thing.
Right,
so yeah, that's pretty typical. So.
Now, how we met was because I was in a financial crisis, and Mike is actually my financial counselor. And it's true. You go back and you think, man, if I would have just thought about things.
Yeah.
And especially in the context of being a caregiver, so many of us just lead with our heart.
Right.
And we say, you know what, I'll bring in my family or I'll take care of people.
Right.
Without really looking at how is that going to financially impact me in my situation and for the future. So I thank you so much for the services you provide. And you really did provide hope to me.
Not just a slogan there, huh?
It's
so
not,
Financial Hope,
well, because there's always a way out of a situation.
Yes,
that's
definitely,
created.
yes.
So what are the 3 errors that you see people most commonly make in regards to their finances?
One is, I think most people don't have any type of written financial goals. I think most people just kind of go through life winging it. Someday I want to do this, someday I want to do that, and they never really take the time to write down what's important to them. So they're getting drawn here, thrown here, kind of all over the place. So you really need to start off with written financial goals. Actually, and then from there you want to start a budget, a written spending plan or a budget. Again, most people just kind of wing it with that too. Well, I think here's what I make per month, and here's what I think I'm spending my money on. And boy, I know I owe some creditors some money, but gee whiz, I don't even want to open my mail kind of thing. So you got to have some type of written budget. It's not there to hurt you, to punish you. It's really there to use as a tool to help you. And then most people we see just aren't saving any money at all. I mean, zero money. There's nothing for, like cars breaking down or Christmas is coming on December 25th. So it's kind of a day-to-day, week-to-week thing rather than, hey, let's look down the road a little bit kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I fall guilty of that too.
We all have, so yeah.
But it is very helpful to set aside, especially on savings. I tithe, so I put 10% to God, 10% to myself.
Great.
And then if I was wiser, I would sit down and break down my quarterly and those tax bills and the insurance bills that come up once in a while, and break those down monthly to make sure I have money at the end of the month for that.
Yeah, I think the big mistake most people make is, okay, here's my income, here's my living expenses, here's who I owe. Oh, here's my budget. Whoops, they forget to, okay, your license plates are $200 a year. Gift giving, you're spending at least $500. Medical bills are, like life insurance that comes every 6 months. So they forget those. So when those pop up, it's like, boom, where do I come up with $300 out of thin air? So you really have to look down the road a little bit and say, okay, what are those expenses that are only come due once in a while? I may not know the exact amount, but I'm going to try to estimate it, divide it by 12 months, and then plug it into my budget. You're not spending that amount, but you need to save it. Now, in reality, most people don't do that. Generally, it lands on those type of expenses land on credit cards.
Yeah.
The gift giving, the car repairs, and things of that nature. So if you're trying to get out of debt, you really, really need to kind of look down the road just a touch and figure in those expenses that only happen once in a while and start plugging in some money into your savings for those.
Wow.
And it's hard. I mean, it's not. It's tough. I mean, it's tough, particularly if you're on a tight budget. I understand that, but that's where you have to say, is there anything I could reduce? Can I increase my income somehow to free up a little bit of money to put back for those periodic expenses?
Yeah, wow. So just by sitting down and first off coming up with what do I want for the future?
Right. Yeah, that's step one.
Goals,
Step one.
I think that seems kind of daunting to people. Do you have any tips or advice?
Just do it. And you know what? I tell people, like a class I teach, I say when we talk about goal setting, you know, at first it can be this really vague type thing, you know, like, all right, I want to pay off my debts, and then try to wind it down, make it more specific. I want to pay off Citibank. I want to pay off Citibank by January 1st, 2015. I'm going to pay off Citibank by January 1st of 2015 by applying an extra $30 per month on my payment. So start off with kind of a vague goal, and then you can just kind of wind it down. The more specific, and particularly if it's written, the better chances you are of actually reaching that goal.
Yeah.
So
now, does Financial Hope help with that process? You teach classes?
Well, we actually have a class that we do, and this is actually geared for folks that have filed bankruptcy, and by law they actually have to attend it. It's called Money in Motion. It's a 2-hour class, and so they get a certificate stating that they attended that. We offer a free online class. It's called Life or Debt that you can take online, and it does include goal setting and stuff. So, but goal setting, if you read any good financial money management book or magazine, they're always going to start off with goal setting. You know, what do you want to do, rather than being dragged through life 15,000 different directions? And you know, you really got to figure out what's important to you. Meaning you can't do it all generally.
Right.
Yeah. Financially at least. So.
Yeah. Well, it seems that's true in any area of your life.
Yeah.
Too, is to set some goals, because if you don't have a target that you're working towards,
then
you're never going to get there.
Then it becomes numbers. Like, who cares? All right, then it becomes just a set of meaningless numbers. If without my goals, what's in it for me? You know, what am I trying to achieve? Then it becomes, oh gosh, it's, you know, I'm spending this and this and this, and who really cares? Well, what really matters is, you know, I'm trying to get to this. I'm trying from A to B, and to do that, I'm going to have to really sit down and figure out what's coming in, where's it going, start tracking it, and look at actually who I owe, start paying down some debt, and then and that'll help you reach those goals.
Yeah, it seems to be a good decision-making tool as well too.
I do. You know, we have this form when somebody does schedule an appointment with us at Financial Hope. They can get on our website at www.financialhope.org and check out all information about us. But when they schedule an appointment, we do send them out, it's called a financial profile form. It's a budget sheet. And I always tell people, well, don't let it scare you. What we're looking for is your income, your net income, your living expenses, and your debts. And then a lot of times when people come in, they'll say, well, gosh, you know, I didn't really want to fill this out. I didn't want to take the time to do it, but it was a good eye-opener. It's a great starting point, because I knew I was having all these difficulties, but now when I start putting it down on paper, I can start to see why. I've got more money going out and coming in. And even with that, most people are guessing a lot on the living expenses, but it's a good self-analysis tool, actually.
Right.
Yeah, so.
I did that when I got out of college. I wrote down every day, every cent that I spent.
That's good, yeah.
And then took a look at the areas that, you know, why was I doing that?
Yeah.
That was stupid.
well, we all have those, and that's okay. You know, it's just if you're doing too much and you're out of balance with your budget, you got more going out than coming in, you're down to two things. You either need to increase your monthly income somehow, lower your living expenses, or do a combination of both. Otherwise, if you got more money going out, you're going to be getting into more debt, credit card debt, loans, things of that nature, and you're just going to dig yourself in deeper. So,
So pay attention to where you're spending and what you're doing, and make wise choices. And I think that's, sometimes we forget that money is a choice too. And in actuality, we think that money is controlling us, when the opposite is really true. We should be controlling the money.
Yeah, that's a good point. And a lot of times I'll hear people, they'll say, well, Mike, I don't have a dime left over to save, okay? Because you talk about savings and all that. And we'll go through their budget and go, okay, well, eating out is $50 a month, if that, it is probably more. Recreation, $75, blah, blah, blah. So they're choosing to spend their money elsewhere, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with eating out and having fun. That's okay to have that. But if you're saying, I don't have any money to save, no, you're making some choices not to save money, because you could actually reduce the amount that you're spending on eating out or recreation and funnel that into your savings account. So, you know, very few people that I see are so tight on their budget, like on a fixed income. Yeah, okay, they may not have a dime left over. Majority of people, there's money in their budget They just have to choose to, I'm going to actually start saving. I'm going to start doing this, rather than this mentality of, I can never save a dime. It's kind of ingrained in their process. I
Right,
think, yeah.
right. And then two, I think if they take that goal, whether it's to be out of financial debt or whatever,
yeah.
and think broader.
Right.
What does that mean to me?
Correct.
If I'm if I'm financially independent, what can I now do?
Right, it's freedom. Most people think of budgeting, spending plans as constraints. It's going to punish me. Like I said earlier, kind of a it's, oh gosh, I don't want to do. But it's really designed to help you, like you said, become free. It's going to reduce the financial stress in your life. It's going to free up money for things that you didn't think were possible. I always use this analogy. I'll say, well, you know what? What if your employer called you into your meeting room here and said to all your employees and said, hey, look, we got money coming in, but we really don't know for sure how much it is. We got money going out, but we're kind of vague on that. And we owe vendors money, but we haven't paid them in a month, and we can't even tell you who we owe. I'll say, well, how would you feel? Well, they're looking at me going, well, gee whiz, I'm probably not going to have a job very long. So if you expect your employer to kind of keep track of things so you can have a job, treat yourself as kind of a small business. It's not that complex by any means, but hey, I got to know what's coming in. I got to know where my money's going, not down to the penny. And who do I owe money to? And if you don't, just like the business that doesn't have a budget or spending plan, they're going to go bankrupt or go under. Same thing for you. Unless you have all this money you don't know what to do with, which I doubt most people have, you have to have some type of plan, have a budget. It may not be perfect. You don't have to think, I got to have this thing perfect, but it's got to be at least a good starting point for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I was bringing on a family member into my home, which I did,
Right.
In hindsight, it would have been better for me to sit down and say, okay, this is where I'm at now as a single person.
Right.
And here's what I think might be coming at me.
Yeah.
Now, how do we work around that? That would have been a wiser plan, right?
Yeah, it's hard, and particularly when you're in a situation where you're caught up in the emotion of it and stuff. I mean, I get a lot of parents that come in, and the reason they're really in debt is because they're helping out their children. A lot of times these children are grown children. I'm talking, older kids per se that are, adults, and they're still bailing them out and doing this and doing that. And it's like, wow, you're about ready to go bankrupt just to try to help your kid. There's got to be a certain point where, okay, I really need you to start taking on full responsibility for yourself. Otherwise, you're dragging mom and dad right down the tubes financially.
Right. And you're really not doing them any service.
No, you're not. No, you're not. And believe me, I help our kids too. They're getting older now. I mean, they're in 2 in college, one. We have 3 grandkids now. So we like to help them when we can and stuff. So I'm not advocating you don't help your kids. I don't want to hear.
Right.
But it comes to a point where I've seen a lot of people. They'll take it to the extreme, and they're willing to just almost file bankruptcy just to and it's like, well, you're right. Are you teaching them anything? If they're constantly going to you for I can't pay my cell phone bill or whatever kind of thing.
Yeah, we are enabling them.
Yeah,
we are.
A little bit.
We are. Trust me, it's my story. So much better to have conversations with her early on, and which I'm doing with my grandkids.
Good.
By the way, we're talking about money, and when they get money for Christmas or for their birthdays, we set a certain aside in their bank account.
That's great. That's awesome.
For savings, and then they have their discretionary fund, and it helps them just to think about money as being a tool rather than not the overriding emphasis in life. It seems like we're always working for the money,
right.
striving for the money. Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to be living and having that money help support us.
I agree. Those are good points.
Wow. So hopefully they'll turn out right.
Hey. That's a good. You're starting well.
I'm trying to. So when people are in financial crisis, because you see a lot of that, what are the things that they should watch out for or ask more questions about?
Well, again, I think the first step is you're starting to figure out, okay, the warning signs, I'm having problems, I'm getting calls from creditors, I'm getting letters, overdue notices, my credit card balances are going up, I'm to the point I don't want to even open my mail, I'm hiding my mail. Those are just basically warning signs that things aren't right. So you have to just say, okay, wow, what's going on here? Really, you need to face, just like anything, I face the situation, okay? And that's hard, okay? That's really hard to do, but it's like, why am I getting these calls? Why am I can't pay my bills? What's going on in my life right now that's put me to this point? And then that's where you kind of sit down and take stock and inventory and And that's why a lot of people need to come to us, because by the time they come to us, things are pretty disorganized, it's stressful, and it's hard for them to even face the situation. So when they come in and see one of our certified financial counselors, they'll be able to sit down with somebody in a non-judgmental role, and that person our counselors will be able to sit down with them and help them go through their budget, give them some tips and advice. We do offer a debt management program, and for a lot of folks, we're able to set them up with repayment plans back to their creditors. We're really good at setting up payment plans with credit card companies and getting the credit card companies to lower interest, stop fees. They may reduce the payments. We can attempt to set up payment plans with medical and collections. It just depends. But we do offer that. Now, we're a true nonprofit agency. We've been in the Fort Wayne area since 1965.
Wow.
Our marketing name right now is Financial Hope, but our legal name is still Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Northeastern Indiana. So we're the original one. Now, there's a zillion of them out there nowadays. If you look anywhere on a billboard or late night TV, you got to be really careful, because a lot of people have been going to debt settlement agencies the last few years, and with the promise of this quick fix, and within a year they've gotten them into worse shape. And these folks now have to the point they got to file bankruptcy. So you got to really do your homework and figure out, is this a place that's reputable? Check them out on the BBB. Do they have a local board of directors? Do they offer financial education? So I know a lot of people are calling these 1-800 numbers down in Florida or whatever, and sometimes they just don't work. So
yeah, I had heard. In fact, my parents had fallen trapped to that.
Yeah.
And they told me that they had promised them that they would get their payments down.
Sure.
And what happened was they were taking the money from my parents and putting them into an account.
Our account to sit there. Yeah, right.
And then maybe they would make
off
the
a credit.
payment. Well, what happened was that they weren't making the payments.
Correct.
And it did get them in a worse financial
Yeah, the big
situation.
difference between us is we make monthly payments back to the creditors on a monthly basis. We'll send that person a statement proving that we paid them and how much. They'll get a statement from the creditor. Generally, the debt settlement agencies stockpile your money in an account. You go seriously past due, and then one by one they try to schedule these settlement deals. But wow, that's going to ruin your credit report. Your late fees are going to increase. Your interest rates are going to get sent to collections. You could probably get sued by an attorney.
Yeah.
So you just a lot of times wasted a lot of money. Now if you owe a collection agency $200, can you call them up on your own and try to whittle it down to $150? Yeah, you probably can get it in writing. That's okay. But if you're talking thousands of dollars a credit card and you're going with an agency out of a different state and you're paying them all this money, be careful. That's my best tip: is be very, very careful.
Yeah, anything that looks too good to be true,
Yes, generally,
it's probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, that's definitely good
Exactly.
advice. So.
Well, that's what I appreciated about sitting down with you, Mike,
Yeah.
was just going through everything. And I felt like I had a pretty good grip on where I was spending
you
it.
did, yeah.
But it was just the income coming in.
Right, yeah.
But you were very helpful in pointing out, we'll look at other things that you can do. What are some other talents that you could probably bring in and make some money off of it too? So that was not only from the expense side, but also from the income side.
Good. Glad to
Very
hear
helpful
that.
to me too. So you talked about some things that set Financial Hope apart from other agencies. Are there, other things that set you apart?
Well, again, the biggest thing is I think we've been in a nonprofit community service since 1965. We have a local presence. Currently, we have a board of directors. We offer financial education, and our counselors are certified, and we have to have these updated professional development, units and training every 2 years. So those are the things you want to ask. So check them out on the BBB, see what the rating is.
Right.
What are your fees? We do offer our counseling is absolutely free, but if somebody does join our program, there's a one-time $50 fee to join the program. And then there's a monthly fee as low as $5, and it caps out at $50. It just depends on what their payments are to their creditors. But so ask the organization what their fees are. Do they offer education? And so just ask some good questions, and that'll help you make a wise decision. Then,
Right. Is it possible for people to be financially independent?
Good question. Great question. I think that's probably going to differ for everybody. For It's probably going to be a different meaning for somebody in this income level or that income level. I think financial independence is probably a point in life where it doesn't mean you make $1 million a year or you have maybe not even any debt. It's probably at a place in your life where you're at peace with your finances, you're comfortable, you're not stressing out, you're not worrying about the next bill coming in. So financial independence is probably that point in your life where you can breathe a lot easier, and you still might owe some creditors, okay, but you're okay. You got the money coming in to take care of it. You got a plan, you got a budget, you're saving money, so life's pretty good.
A great misnomer about financial freedom. Many people think, well, if I had $1 million, I would be financially free, but when you take a look at the people that win the lotteries.
No, some sad stories.
Yeah.
Well, one of the classes that I teach, again, a lot of times I lead off with a quote. It's from, it is say like 78, according to Sports Illustrated, like 78% of professional football players within like a couple of years of retirement, like 78% of them are either having serious financial problems or they're filing bankruptcy. So it's like, okay, these guys are making big money, and you would think they would have no financial difficulties. No, they're either really lousy at managing their finances, or they hired somebody that's really lousy at managing their finances.
Yeah.
So again, more money. For a lot of folks, sometimes just means more expenses. So it's just how well I manage what I've been given to be a steward of what you've been entrusted with.
Exactly. Exactly. One of my mentors talks about Adolf Merkler, who was the eighth wealthiest man in Germany. He had millions and billions of dollars, and he was faced with a financial issue, which he thought was going to completely wipe out all his money, and he ended up taking his life because of it.
Wow.
And the sad story was that a few months after his death, his family worked out an arrangement, and it was not a problem.
Wow.
So that's a good example of how money can control.
It's stressful. There's no doubt. Finances can be extremely stressful. So my tip probably for anybody out there that's listening, no matter where you're at, it's never too late to start. And again, most people come in to see me, they think their situation is the worst in the entire universe. Nobody else is having financial difficulties, and that they're it. Well, no, you're not it. Otherwise, we would not be around. So one step at a time, take a deep breath, sit down, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. Okay, what's my income? All right, hey, I'm starting to figure that out. Where's my money going? You're going to need to track it for a while. You're not going to know right away. Who do I owe? It's going to take a while. So don't think you're going to fix all your financial problems like within like a week or a month. It's going to be an ongoing, progressive type thing that you're doing to improve your life.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's then important to put milestones out there so you can feel that success as well too. Yes.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and then if somebody that you can trust, that can you can be a hopefully mentor you or share your goals with, somebody that's going to encourage you rather than drag you down. That's always a good step too. So.
Yeah, which Financial Hope's great at doing.
We're willing to do that. Yes, we are.
Giving people hope. All right, so I covered a lot of the different questions that I had specifically to you. Was there anything else that you think would be helpful for the audience to know?
I think, again, just my best tip is just, if you're having difficulty even just getting started, give us a call. Our number is 260-432-8200. Give us a jingle. We'll set you up with a free and confidential appointment. We do send you out a little paperwork. We ask that you do make an attempt to fill it out, okay?
Right.
And then you'll sit down with a certified financial counselor. You get it, it's about an hour of your life. It's free, and that's a good starting point because I know some people are just frozen. They're like, boy, I just can't do anything. They're just so stressed out, so in this mode of I'm depressed or I just can't do anything. So at least that's a good starting point, and then the counselor will sit down with them, give them an action plan, some steps to. And I think that's a great starting point for a lot of people.
Right, exactly. And I experienced that freezing up.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. It's not very fun.
No, it's not.
So to be able to have somebody guide you through that process. The bankruptcy process is that way also.
Right.
And that people pretty much freak out about. But there's a lot of tools out there to help and to give you information on it. It's not as easy as it looks.
No. Bankruptcy, yeah, it's a serious thing, but I mean it is a viable option for a lot of people that are just it's not for everybody. And nowadays, they're trying to push more people into what's called a Chapter 13, which is a court-ordered reorganization of your debt. But a straight bankruptcy, it's on your credit report for 10 years. Doesn't mean you'll never get credit, but for the next few years, it's a huge hit on a credit report. And then you have to slowly rebuild your credit, and it just takes some time. But there are cases where, yes, that's the only way to go for that person. They're about ready to lose their house, their car, their wages are being garnished. Yeah, and but for some folks, I think a lot of times they're ready to jump into bankruptcy, and they haven't explored all the other options first.
Right,
So, yeah.
right. That reorganization is a good tool too, because it does hit your credit rating a little bit, but not near as much as.
Yeah, and if somebody thinks, hey, filling out our form's a big deal and takes a little bit of time, wait till they fill out paperwork for a bankruptcy. They'll think our form's pretty easy. Okay?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So for us parents and grandparents, it's a good idea to start that money conversation with our children.
I like that. Yeah, that's definitely. Start them off early because try to model, if you got kids in the house, model that for them, your habits, and let them know that you actually have a spending plan, a budget, that you actually, you're balancing your checkbook, whether online or the old-fashioned paper form or whatever. And a lot of times kids will pick up on that and stuff too. They'll see you doing these things, and then that becomes a norm to them. And then show them, actually, teach them as they get older. But I like your idea of, here's a little money you put in the savings, here's some discretionary for you, and things of that nature. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a bad thing to talk to your kids too about where you're at. I don't like to freak kids out, like we're going to lose a house and everything else. But just to talk about, you have responsibilities, and like my granddaughter used to say, oh, you still have checks in your checkbook, so you have plenty of money. I was like, no.
No.
That's not how it works. But just to help them understand how the whole money process works.
Yeah, because if you don't, if they don't get it from you in the household, then they're just going to, they'll leave the house, and then it's kind of like flying by the seat of their pants. And then generally for a lot of young folks, they're getting into trouble. And student loans is a big thing nowadays. That's probably worse than credit card debt for young people nowadays, is getting into student loan debt. So
or getting those you can have a credit card when you go off to school. Well, that's not such a good idea.
Not going to help you. But if you can talk to your kids, teach them before they can actually end up leaving your household, that's a good idea. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Ellen. Appreciate this. Has been great, and thank you so much.
So they can go to the website.
Financialhope.org is our website, or give us a call, 260-432-8200. And we'll be glad to set them up with a free and confidential appointment. We'll get them some paperwork, and we'll get them started on that path to financial freedom. How's that?
I love that, financial freedom.
All right.
And that's probably on everyone's biggest mind right now, as far as their dreams, their goals, and their hopes, is that financial freedom. And there's a lot of tiers to that. But from experience, I would recommend Financial Hope for anyone. Give them a call. See what they're up to. It is confidential, and that's good. So I just want to thank my audience today, and remember, you only have one life to live, so why not live it to its fullest and be the light that God intended you to be. Thank you.